is a problem with the Etsy purchase protection program that we need to talk about it. Um, Happy new rant. I didn't mean to start off ranting, but Etsy, we've got to talk about this. So, firstly, what is the purchase protection program? Etsy started this earlier in the year. It's supposedly one of the reasons why they increased our fees. Remember, they increased our fees. I'll come back to this. But what is it? It is basically a guarantee for buyers. It sounded quite good. The idea that if their item doesn't arrive or arrives damaged, then they will be able to get their money back guaranteed from Etsy. I hadn't heard a whole lot about it. I haven't had to use it up until now. But yeah, Christmas, definitely I had to use it a couple of times. So I saw the first problem, but there's some even bigger problems to come. But I'll talk to you about the problems that I had first. Hang around, you want to hear the rest. So, firstly, it is not Etsy's fault that over the Christmas period there have been massive postal strikes in the UK. I totally get that. The UK is having issues, let's just say that. But as is the rest of the world, around Christmas time, postage shipping is difficult. And when you count into storms and high volume of sales and everything, it's really a big deal. Um, but Etsy promised us that they would explain to the customers the delay in shipping. But no, their estimated arrival time they were giving to customers has just been way too early. They were probably, as far as I can tell, just going off the Royal Mail website saying, you shipped it with Royal Mail, it should be there at such and such a time. But the Royal Mail were telling us, hang on, we're striking for most of November and December. Our estimated arrival times are no way correct. So the poor customer ordered and they saw the estimated arrival time. I shipped according to the purchase protection scheme and the star seller thing. I shipped on time and I can't, for international orders, I can't add tracking, but I used Etsy labels. So all's right for it to be with a purchase protection thing. The seller waits and then Etsy goes, that's the arrival date passed. Hey, customer, do you want to leave a review? Customer obviously hasn't got the item yet because massive delays due to strikes. So customer messages me and they use the need help with order button, which starts the countdown. They've got 2 days from when they start that they can open a case. But they can open a case in after 2 days have passed. I think it's 90 they've got 90 days window to open a case in that time. But that started the clock. I have to reply to these messages, obviously, which, woohoo, means I got my star seller back for having to reply to a lot of customers going, where is my item? Thankfully, I just did what I normally do and pointed out to my customers that things were slow. Here's what's happening in the UK. Here's the steps. I explained there's the purchase protection thing. You to get your money back, but it's still my responsibility. So please get back to me. We'll try and work through. And if it doesn't arrive, I ask them to wait a week. I always ask them to wait a week because things usually pop up. So I asked them to wait a week and then sent them the links to the purchased protection thing. All good. Half the customers, their items arrived. Everybody was happy. I even had one customer, their item arrived on Christmas Day. Amazing postman from there. But anyway, so a few of them, the item didn't arrive within the week that I said. So they went to the purchase protection thing, which basically just means they now open a case saying their item hasn't arrived. And I was amazed. I saw the emails come in. So and so has opened a case against you. Etsy has resolved the case and Etsy has paid them back. So basically, my customer got their money back. I still had the payment from the sale, so everybody was happy. And in a couple of days, the customer's going to get their item anyway. So everybody's happy. I did think that the system was refunding very quickly. It's an automatic refund. There is nobody checking on this. So they're not checking. My UK sales do have tracking numbers on them. They're not checking the tracking to see if the item's been delivered or if it's delayed. They're not checking anything. If the customer says your item hasn't arrived, Eatsy's just automatically, it's not even got time for a person to look at this, they're just refunding, which I think is a very bad thing anyway. Sure, I get why they do it. They were just going like, we don't want to have to spend money on customer support. We don't want to have to deal with anyone. If we just refund it, that's great. So that's where our increased fees are going, into automatic refunds. Now, the thing that's really worrying me about this is that quite simply, customers are now learning that they can get their money back, whether they've got the item or not. Nobody's checking. They just have to say, I didn't get the item. Now, before, people who are listening to this who are also Etsy buyers, and you're thinking, hang on, this is a kind of cool thing. We're ripping off Etsy, but we're not hurting the small businesses. They still get their money. Wait for the next bit. Please don't be doing this. You are hurting Etsy sellers. But anyway, so that's what Etsy's doing. It's an automatic refund, whether the item's arrived or not. The other thing is, if the item arrives damaged, you're covered for Etsy will pay you for one refund if your item arrives damaged. That's just to say, look, if your item's arriving damaged all the time, there's something wrong with the way you're packing it, sort that out. Or even the shipping carrier, stop using the company that likes to throw parcels over walls and stamp on them, and use the companies that actually take care of your parcels. Right, so that's the personal thing that I saw that I think is a bit ludicrous, but in my case, it helped over Christmas. I didn't have to deal with customers quite so much. I could just say my usual wait a week, and then if the thing didn't turn up, Etsy will just give them their money back. I have the money, they have the money, they get their item in a few days. Everybody's kind of happy. I've said I don't like it, but everybody's kind of happy. But here's the thing that some people are finding, and here's the thing where this is ripping off sellers. If for whatever reason your item is not eligible for the purchase protection program, the customer is still going to get refunded. If you are unable to ship with tracking and you're in a country where you can't use Etsy labels, which is a lot of countries, or for whatever reason, I didn't use Etsy labels for a long time. I don't like using Etsy labels because they rip off my post office. So if you aren't using Etsy labels, which lots of people aren't, if you can't use tracking, which lots of people can't, you are not eligible for the payment protection program, but your customer still is. If your customer opens the case, Etsy system still automatically refunds them, but not out of Etsy's money. Etsy's system automatically refunds them out of your money, out of the card on your account as the seller. So it takes the money off them, and it doesn't in any way check to see if it's reasonable that the item's been delayed, or to see if it's actually turned up, or to see whatever your policies are. It ignores all of that and automatically refunds them out of your funds. And there's more. The purchase protection program is only guaranteeing, I think it's up to $250. It's only a certain amount. If your sale is more than that, the purchase protection program isn't relevant for you. But again, Etsy is still automatically refunding. I am hearing of cases of people with several $1,000 sales coming up to Christmas. The customer opens the case and says this item didn't show up. Etsy is refunding from the seller's credit card in the run up to Christmas with no warning. And that, I do not like that at all. There is no way for the seller to dive in and check where the item is, to chase up the shipping, to open a case against the shipping company or whatever else. Etsy is just automatically taking the money off them. Now, I haven't had this personally happen to me, but I have heard of people saying this is what happened. So yeah, New year, new rant. I didn't want to rant. I want to do positive videos to help us all getting loads of great sales for the year. But I had to mention this one. Etsy, you really need to fix this. Now, I will say I have heard if this happens and Etsy takes the money off of you, people are able to appeal this and speak to Etsy and get someone at Etsy to look at it. And if Etsy feels they've made a mistake, they will then refund the seller. The buyer still gets to keep their money. They'll refund the seller. So buyers, don't be thinking you're only hurting Etsy if you open these cases. You could really be taking money off of small businesses, and you were taking money out of the bank accounts of small businesses of small individuals on the run up to Christmas. That must have been absolutely horrible. Some of those payments will have bounced and people have got into trouble with their bank, and yeah, not good. Um, yeah, so Etsy, please look into the purchase protection system. Okay, I'm not happy with it being an automatic thing, but if it's an automatic thing, it should only be automatic for the listings that are actually entitled, are actually part of the purchase protection thing. It should not be an automatic thing for sellers that are selling a higher price items, or for sellers who can't or choose not to be part of the purchase protection thing. I hope that makes sense. Oh, the other quick thing is, don't freak out if a customer's opened a case on the purchase protection thing. That case shouldn't hurt your shop because it is dealt with immediately. So that's a kind of good thing. I'm not able to check if that was the case with my shop to see if my rankings dropped or anything, because this all happened over a time where I had my shop on vacation mode. Anyway, yeah, first video of the year. Let me know in the comments, have you had to deal with a purchase protection scheme with Etsy, either as a buyer or a seller, buyer or a customer? I nearly said that. I'm out of practice with this thing. Have you had to deal with this either as a buyer or a seller? How did you find it? What do you like about this that you think Etsy should keep? Let's do a positive. We're training Etsy, like good Etsy, you did a good. And what do you think they need to change? I'm looking forward to hearing your comments down below. Let's have a discussion about this. Let's fix Etsy for them. Right. Anyway, some great videos coming up this year. If you got to the end of this, you do want to, you must like what I'm talking about. So that's cool. You want to hang around, you want to hit the subscribe button, because hopefully if I can edit it, the next video coming up will be my favorite for the year, which is the what to sell in 2023 video. There's some great trends coming up. I'm really loving it. And Etsy's spotting some of the trends that I saw years ago, actually. So I'm ahead of the times. Who knew? Anyway, don't forget, hit subscribe, give us a like if you like what I'm talking about. You're not liking for Etsy, you're liking for Pam. And I'll see you next time.